A coiled rope's speckled color and coiling are similar to those of a snake, and when the rope is perceived in a dim area, the thought arises, this is a snake. Well, it's more like, ah! Right? As for the rope, at that time when it is seen to be a snake, the collection and parts of the rope are not even in the slightest way a snake, right? You're seeing it as a snake, but it's a rope. So the parts of the rope, or the collection of the parts of the rope, or this part of the rope, or that part of the rope, none of it is a snake. Totally not a snake there. Therefore, that snake is merely set up by conceptuality. And as I was leaving, Gyume Kensung on LinkedIn read this from memory to me. And literally, it was like a punch to the outside of the chest. And I staggered a little bit against the door. And it's with me since then. Something came together. Well, now His Holiness explained his own experience with regard to this passage. And it was from this experience that he then consulted with a number of Tibetan scholar yogis to see what level this put him at. Sometime during the early 60s, he gives the date, when I was reflecting on a passage by Tsongkhapa about unfindability and the fact that phenomena are dependent on conceptuality, it was as if lightning coursed within my chest. Now, for him, this was something inside his chest that was even painful. He's going to say this. My version of it was very mild compared to his, okay? So I'm not trying to make myself grand by putting myself in the same class. That's a certain type of pride. I'm just a little bit less than the Dalai Lama. One of the 5 types of pride that Nagarjuna speaks of in his Precious Garland. So His Holiness says, the impact lasted for a while. That means having lightning in my chest lasted for a while. And for the next few weeks, whenever I saw people, they seemed like a magician's illusions, in that they appeared to inherently exist, but I knew that they actually did not. That experience, which was like lightning in my heart, was most likely at a level below completely valid and incontrovertible realization. Never mind direct perception of emptiness. Now remember, the experience of it is like lightning in your heart, in your chest. And he's saying is not direct perception. Below that is inference, the step below that. It's not even inference, because inference is incontrovertible. So he places it, I know, also from other conversations, as the step before that, which is called correct assumption. So if correct assumption is like lightning in your chest, then what is inference like? Then what is direct perception like? Wow. That's really amazing. Sometimes we think inference is some superficial word thing. We say, this is empty because it's a dependent arising. It's a dependent arising because it arises in dependence upon causes and conditions, or because it arises in dependence upon its own parts, as if the words are the inference. This is totally ridiculous. Inference doesn't mean that. Inference is the incontrovertible understanding that you get from reflecting on the meaning of words. You get at the fact. You actually get at the fact of emptiness, which is more powerful than being struck in your heart by lightning. So that obviously the emotional impact of it is stunning. Of inference, of correct assumption. There are 5 different types of correct assumption. This has to be one of the better ones. Before correct assumption, there's doubt that tends toward the fact, that tends toward the truth. Oh, I probably am empty of inherent existence. You know? That's doubt, probably, tending toward the correct side. Aryadeva says, even doubt, so the word is like wrecks the seeds of cyclic existence. Doubt prior to correct assumption, which is prior to inference, which is prior to direct perception, which is prior to what's called the path of meditation, which is prior to the path of no more learning. Wow! I mean, that really means we have hope. Oh, maybe I don't inherently exist. Or maybe, it could be, maybe my car doesn't inherently exist. Prior to that is equal doubt. Oh, maybe it does inherently exist, maybe it doesn't. That's not the kind of doubt that Aryadeva is talking about, that wrecks the seeds of cyclic existence. Geshe Rabten said that doubt tending to the fact is like a first doubt that you have about an old friend. A friend you've been with, you've trusted for a long time, and you think, oh, maybe this person is not honest. You see the emotional impact of doubt tending to the fact. That's, what do you say? I don't want to be too dramatic, but earth-shattering in a sense. That's overstated. It's undermining, right? It's a shudder. So prior to doubt tending to the fact is equal doubt. Maybe does inherently exist, maybe it doesn't. And then there's doubt tending to the wrong side, which is, probably it does inherently exist. Then prior to that is our level, which is wrong idea. It inherently exists. So sometimes when we read, you can feel, oh yeah, I already understand the absence of inherent existence. Well, if you do, then you've done a good deal better than the Dalai Lama did. Okay? Really. So it's a lack of associating the words of the text with one's own experience. A sign that I deeply believe in the inherent existence of myself is that I was pissed off and upset when I was out on the other side of whatever lake I was on. Really? That didn't help me at all. And it wasn't emptiness. reflection on emptiness, despite all the years and the mountain of pages that I've written about emptiness that brought me back to my senses, it was reflecting on, oh, this is an opportunity to build character, which is really the motivation side, the compassion and that side of things. Although that side of things has an awful lot of wisdom in it. We often talk about compassion and wisdom as if they're two different things, and then you're told, well, the more compassion you have, the easier wisdom is. Why is that? Because there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of breaking down of barriers in compassion. In compassion. Because if you don't have something, this object that I'm pissed off at because I got the wrong directions, I'm seeing that as inherently existent. I'm seeing the me who was lost as inherently existent. The me who was stuck in 4:30 traffic as inherently existent. The traffic is inherently existent in this goddamn city of Seattle as inherently existent. That's why it's called proliferation. You get one going and it's more and more and more and more. And if emptiness won't work for you, even His Holiness has said, sometimes emptiness doesn't work for him. If he has a bad dream, he'll reflect on emptiness. And he says, well, when that doesn't work, then I work on compassion. And I feel compassion for the monster. I developed a practice where I brush the teeth of the monster. I take a toothbrush and brush the teeth. You would think that's silly. You ought to just think it doesn't exist. But it doesn't work sometimes. So you see, breaking down the barrier of this being so solid, and this thing over there that's pissing you off so much, and this thing over here that's so pissed off, you're breaking down that solidity, which is most commodious to wisdom. Then he says, this is when my understanding of the cessation of the afflictive emotions as a true possibility became real. So this is the Dalai Lama in what did he say? The early 60s. So let's say 1963. 2 or 3. 1, 2, 3. How old is he? He was born in 35. So he was less than 30, right? 28 maybe. Had been teaching a long time, giving Kala Chakra initiations, teaching about true cessation and so forth. And he says, this is when my understanding of the cessation of the afflictive emotions as a true possibility became real. So you see, that means there was a whole lot of book learning and even teaching of others, and then something came through deeper, and it's like saying, oh, this was the breakthrough. Nowadays, he says, I always meditate on emptiness in the morning and bring that experience into the day's activities. Just thinking or saying I, as in I will do such and such, will often trigger the feeling. But still, I cannot claim full understanding of emptiness. As Nagarjuna would say, this is almost like a joke. Does a loser lose? That means loser is the agent of losing, right? Not loser in general. That's why I say it's like a joke. But that's the kind of question he asks. Does a loser lose? Or does a non-loser lose? You say, shut up. And if a loser loses, then there's the losing that makes the person a loser, and then the losing that the person does. So there are two losings. And if it's a non-loser, how could a non-loser lose? It's like, shut up, Nagarjuna.